ever heard about this particular food in Korea? Or do you know where this food comes from? Join us in our journey as we uncover where these peculiar stories and interesting gourmets come from around the world. Please welcome Matthew in the studio. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Oh, Chef Matt in the studio. As we talk about peculiar things all about food, gourmets, and dining. Dining culture is pretty big.
That's right. And dining isn't just about the food that you eat, but also how you eat it.
맞아요. Coming to Korea also, I mean, every country has their own manners, their etiquettes, their cultures, and even utensils to use as well. Some places just use their hands, which I'm also grateful for as long as there's a faucet with some soap, then I'm glad to do that as well. But
요새는 물티슈. Like a stack of 물티슈.
Yeah, some serviettes. But I don't know, back in the days it was just kind of, it wasn't even a tissue. It was like a hand towel.
A hand towel. Sometimes if you're in a fancier place, a little finger bowl with a slice of lemon in there. I just remember, wow, that just unlocked a weird memory for me.
And then they had these little, I don't know, tablets that you would dunk into water, and then it was like a science experiment. That was pretty fun too. But in any case, today, 오늘의 주제는 바로 뭘까요?
We're talking about table manners,
좋습니다.
or in Korean, 식사 예절.
Oh, it's fun talking about these different ways of eating and what to do and what not to do.
That's right. So, like, what is polite at a table? What's not? We want to hear from you. So, what do you think are the most important table manners to follow?
맞아요. 우리 지니 여러분들도 각자의 문화도 있을 수도 있어요. 뭐 나라별로도 있긴 있지만 가족마다 그런 테이블 에티켓이 있을 것 같은데요. 샵 1013으로 문자 보내주시길 바랍니다. 저녁 식사를 할 때 또는 점심 식사를 할 때 이거는 꼭 지켜야 된다는 것이 뭘까요? Let us know. Keep sending in your messages in. But first, once again, table manner, our question being 우리나라에서는 식사 예절이라고 하는데요. Of course. 여러분이 생각하는 가장 중요한 테이블 매너는 과연 무엇일까요? All right. Well, when it comes to first and foremost, it would be your dinnerware.
That's right. And you kind of hit the nail on the head because you talked about everything from, like what you have to do and the utensils and the plates. And so that's all different in every country you go to. But what is universal is that after you eat, you have empty cups and plates. So this one seems to be countries and cultures kind of fall into two categories. Which one is more polite? Eating all the food on your plate or leaving some food on your plate?
Yes. That's a big question. 그러네요. 다 먹었는데 배부르게 맛있게 먹었는데 다 먹어야 이게 매너인가? 너무 잘 먹었으니까 소스도 없이 빵도 다 발라 먹었으니까 그렇게 둬야 되나? 아니면 와인처럼 I feel like some people just say you gotta leave the wine. 그런 매너가 있는 것도 잘 몰랐는데 if you go to like fine dining restaurants, it's a new world.
Yeah. And then even not in fine dining restaurants, casually wine too,
그래요?
like wine and coffee. There are, I want to say Poland. There's a term, a fusi. It's like you don't drink the last little bit of coffee, tea, or wine at the bottom of your cup.
Even coffee and tea?
Yeah, it's mostly coffee and tea because, a lot of times, especially with tea, there's a little bit of sediment on the bottom. And so there's just like a culture of, and again, like we're going to get into this a little bit later. When I say culture, it doesn't mean that everyone does it. And sometimes, people have like a weird understanding of what other cultures do.
Right.
That's a whole other bag of thing. We'll get into that a little bit later. But what about your household? Were you supposed to eat all of your food, clean your plate, or was it more polite to leave a little behind? Because here's the thing. Some families, some cultures, some even situations, it's more polite to leave a little behind because A, it either feels like if you eat everything, it feels like you didn't have enough to eat.
맞아요. Yeah. So my mom, I think we've heard this before. 남의 집에 가면은 왜 더 배가 고픈지는 잘 모르겠어요. 왜 음식이 더 맛있는지 잘 모르겠지만 허겁지겁 막 먹잖아요. 그러면 엄마가 부끄러워가지고 she'd say like, oh, they might think that I don't feed you at home,
Right,
you
right,
know?
right.
But I don't know. For me, 배부르게 먹는 표현이 다 먹어야 된다는 인식이 있거든요. And I think for my mom as well, if you enjoyed it, then you eat all of it. But then again, I never went to like a grandma's house and, you know, where she kept giving me food
Sure.
every time I emptied my plate. So I would say emptying it out, the great way to compliment the chef is just licking your fingers clean, licking the plate clean.
You know,
and
in
not
Italy,
leaving
they
it.
have a great word. It's called scarpetta.
Scarpetta.
And it's the piece of bread you use to wipe up the last bit of sauce on a plate.
Yes.
See, my family, I was, no matter what I did, it was wrong. 다 먹으면은, 와, 왜 억지로 먹어? 남기면은, 남기지 마.
Yeah,
No matter what I did, I
맞아요.
could never get it right.
I feel like every Korean household as well. PD님께서 비싼 술을 왜 남기고 아깝게 라고 보내주시는데.
I think 이거는 너무 그 있어 보이게 하는 척으로 하는 것
think
같아요.
so.
Yeah, it's a bit of a flex, right? To leave a little bit of expensive, pricey, you know, valuable wine in the glass.
I don't know if we're going to talk about this later on, but I do want to mention in Korea, you don't eat the last piece of anything though.
Yeah, and I think that's almost a universal feeling, especially like 그 약간 애매한 사이면은 if it's like coworkers or something, right? 친한 친구나 가족끼리면은 you fight over the last piece of
맞아요,
something.
맞아요.
But if you're with like coworkers or just people you don't know very well, 눈치 봐야 되니까 no one takes that last piece.
Yeah, and I hate it because 끝까지 안 먹으니까 낭비하게 되더라고요.
맞아요. 그리고 답답하잖아요.
I know. And then do I say like, oh no, I'll eat it? Because then I look like the very selfish and greedy person that wants to eat only.
So that's why I think you have to say 담당하게. 제가 먹을게요.
네,
Yeah,
제가 먹을게요.
yeah.
네, 맞아요.
That
Just
way,
say it out
yeah,
loud.
yeah. If you do it, then I feel like other people will be like, you're almost doing them a favor. Thank you.
Somebody
Someone
said
did it.
something.
Somebody said something.
맞아요. That's so true. I went out to eat gogi, and gogi is the worst because it's in bite-sized pieces. And then this person, I think, lived in Korea for quite some time. It was with my husband and his friends. 근데 이 커플이 외국 커플인데 한국에서 잠깐 살다가 이제 필리핀으로 살고 있거든요. 근데 이제 여행 겸 왔는데 바비큐 레스토랑에서 식사를 하는데 그러니까 나누게 되잖아요. 고기 썰어서 이쪽은 내 쪽 뭐 we have like 4 little corners, little
Sure.
pockets of meat, and this guy goes over to my pocket of meat and eats. And I thought, oh, you're not Korean.
Oh, no, that person's not even a human being.
Is it?
That is sociopath behavior.
왜냐면 고기를 구울 때 나누잖아요. 4인분이면 자르는 분이 구우는 분이 잘라가지고 다 나누는데 이 사람이 자기 파트를 다 먹었는데 제 걸로 옮겨서 이게 젓가락질을 하는 게 외국분이어서 그런가? 막 그렇게 생각해요.
No. I feel like this person is like the last person you want to be in like the zombie apocalypse with.
Only cares for himself. So
Big red
selfish.
flag.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So I would say for me, eating everything is a plus. Always a compliment to whoever cooked, especially if you're out at a housewarming or I guess at a restaurant, it's a little less of a thing because don't feel like the chef really washes my dishes anyway.
Sure. And yeah, I think I think 요새는 because I think it's much more I think it's much more permissive to leave some food behind, especially just because like 그런 뭐 다이어트 문화나 아니면은 just in general people have a little bit more dietary restrictions, and I think more people are sensitive about that. So I think it's hard to say like one culture says you have to do all of this, one culture says you can't do that at all. I think part of it is like a certain amount of like classism, and I think part of it, yeah. And 예를 들면. When I was looking up table manners around the world, one thing I kept coming across was in China, it is polite to burp after your meal.
Oh, I see.
And this is not the case at all.
Is it not?
I even saw an article. They even someone wrote an article in the South China Morning Post, and he was talking about it's an older British man, and he said like when I first went to Hong Kong in the 60s to on a business trip, I heard that you were supposed to let out a burp, and that was to compliment the chef. And so I let out the biggest burp that I could after the meal, and everyone just looked at me in horror.
Oh no.
It's this weird Orientalism that, I think came from like the original explorers. They would just 어떤 행동을 보고 they'll see like one or two people doing it. It's like, oh, this
That's
must
the
be
culture.
the culture.
Right.
In China, they let out a hearty burp after a meal to show compliments to the chef.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how this still gets passed on to this day. Like you'll see
그러네요.
BuzzFeed lists, like the weirdest table manners around the world.
Still
Number
includes.
17 will blow your mind. And the top of these lists are always in China, you're supposed to burp after a meal.
That's interesting. Yeah, but it's, I mean, what do you do when you eat something deliciously? Like slurping also, these things that for some people is kind of a no-no. Some people it's like, well, that's how you gotta drink soup or eat noodles. It just tastes better. Especially if we're talking about soup, then one more thing before we take a song break. When I want to drink it, slurp it all up, do I take the bowl to my mouth and drink everything like a cup?
I say that if the pot is not boiling hot, or if it's not really delicate, like a white, like China plate, like in a fine dining restaurant, any other bowl is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine dining or like a tukbegi. I think those are like the old, that's like still boiling.
Right.
One of them is for health reasons, and the other one is, I think, politeness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a fine dining situation is the only place where I think that nowadays that's seen as unacceptable.
Yeah. But I think I'll stop myself if I'm in public and I want to for example, cereal, but when do I ever eat cereal at a restaurant? But if I grab the bowl to my mouth, I'll feel kind of like, ooh, am I 없어 보여? Do I
Again, 담당하게 해야
look
돼요.
like a peasant?
Yeah, you have to look like a Viking.
Yeah, that's right. Be proud, be confident in your table manners. Maybe people will think more of you if you just do it with pride as well. But in any case, question being, 테이블 매너, 식사 예절이라고 하는데 여러분이 생각하는 가장 중요한 테이블 매너는 과연 무엇이라고 생각하시나요? 샵 1013으로 문자 보내주시길 바랍니다. Stick around. Here's Katy Perry. Bon appetit. Greedy. In any case, we're here talking about table manners, what to do when you are eating, before you're eating, and after you're eating as well. A big thing in my house was being at the table when food is served.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So for my mom, a big thing that she would feel appreciated is when she says dinner is ready, we be at the table. It didn't happen that often because we were just lousy kids. But that was a way that my mom wanted to keep a certain standard when it comes to thinking of others.
I totally get that now that I'm an adult.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're a kid, 엄마 잠깐만.
Yeah.
You
먹어!
know. 빨리 wá. But now I totally get like now it's like, my wife's like, 유정아,
Yeah.
이리 와. 앉아, 장유정.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because I think you've slaved for however many, hours creating a meal and you want them to have it when it's hot and ready and perfect. But when it gets cold, it really just dilutes the experience.
Yeah, and it's not even about like it being you have to eat it right away and cold. It's the idea that like 기분 좋잖아요. Like if you make a meal and someone is there
맞아요.
waiting and excited to eat
That's
your
true.
food.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah. So that's one, I guess, table etiquette that we tried to abide by, which, as you said, now as adults, we do it more often. Just be at the table when dinner or
That's a really
supper
good
is
one. I
ready.
did not have that one on my list, but that's actually, you know what? Now I'm going to put that as one of the most important things.
Yeah, I think so. Like even setting the table.
Right,
then.
right,
Like who
right.
sets the table? Who washes the dishes? I know that's not necessarily table manners when you go out to the restaurants, but like housewarming parties.
Sure.
그럴 때는 주로 밥을 차리지 않으면 설거지 담당을 하게 되잖아요. You know? And so, I don't know, to each his own. Even 집들이 할 때도 그 host 거니까 그냥 다 알아서 하는 그런
Right.
것도 있고.
But sometimes you still have to do the dance where you offer.
That's
right.
right.
I've been to my mother-in-law's house, about 100 times so far. I've never been allowed to do the dishes once,
Oh,
but
wow.
I still have offered 100 times because
Right.
it would feel weird not to.
Right.
Even though I know each time she'll tell me, 앉아, 빨리 앉아.
Yeah. You still gotta offer. Well, in any case, here's some interesting ones that you may or may not have heard of. Toasting an empty glass.
Yes, so this is a big deal in a lot of countries. It's not so much of a big deal in Korea, I feel like.
Toasting an empty glass. I do it all the time.
Because I feel like you're at a coffee shop with friends. I feel like you jan with coffee in Korea.
We jan with everything.
We jan with everything.
I jan with my chopsticks sometimes with our gogi.
I jan with 양꼬치.
Yeah, that's true. But oftentimes, because I'm not a big drinker, and especially if we're out in occasions where I don't know that many people, then I'll stay away from alcohol. And so if I don't have a glass with me, then I'll just jan with my empty glass.
And no one really makes a big deal.
Yeah.
But there are cultures out there that do make a really big deal out of it. Back in the Roman times, it was improper to toast with a glass of water or with an empty glass.
Even with water?
Even with water. And there is official U.S. Air Force protocol that forbids you from toasting with water.
Well?
And it's literally chapter 12 in the manual, and it's on toasts. But there's a reason for this. So there's the idea of one last roll, and it started in the Vietnam War, after the Vietnam War. And I guess there was this idea that prisoners of war, they only had water. And so they could only, if they were to toast each other, they could only toast with water. And so now they reserve toasting with water to celebrate and mourn those who have dead or those who have died or those who may be missing in action.
I see.
And that makes sense. It's a ritual thing. The Navy as well, toasting with water is considered bad luck because it could signify the idea of like a sinking ship.
Sure.
침몰. And in Spain, you're said to have cursed with 7 years of, let's call it a bad love life.
Oh, no.
If you toast with an empty glass of water. Same in France and Germany if you don't make eye contact when you toast. Have you heard this one?
No.
It's always the ones who bring it up at parties, I've met French guys and German girls and the ones who always bring it up at parties are always the ones who inevitably will end up drinking too much.
Yeah. You have to look into my eyes. But what if it's 10 people?
Yeah.
You still have to
you
make eye
really
contact
do.
with everyone.
You kind of have to you don't have to okay 1, 2, 3, 4, but you have to your eyes have to be bright and present and up.
Intentional. Question: do you jan every glass?
I do I put my hands out. I was like, this is to the world.
Yes. 짠할 때도 건배할 때 다 짠을 클링클링 해야 되나 아니면 요즘에 와이파이로 많이
맞아요.
하잖아요.
Wi-Fi, that's the term for it.
Or you just kind of do the Leonardo DiCaprio, do the Gatsby.
Right. And I think I get it. So the whole thing is just that the reason why you're toasting is for that punigi, right? Is for the celebratory nature of it. And there are these rules around because nobody wants to 깨져 the punigi of the 술자리.
Right. 피디님께서 요즘은 와이파이이군요. 옛날엔 리모컨이라고 했어요. 리모컨! 근데 와이파이도 옛날 얘기인 것 같아요. They just say, I don't know, what's nowadays? Bluetooth?
Yeah.
I have no idea. 네, 피디님께서도 한국에서는 장례식장에서 짠하지 않다고 합니다.
That's right.
I would say that that's appropriate as well. We don't want to start cheersing and toasting at a funeral. But in any case, interesting table manners all around the world. Once again, we're questioning what your guys' household table manners were. Stick with us. More to come. We'll leave you guys with DJ DOC, 독과 춤을. Join us on our journey as we uncover the peculiar table manners around the world, both in your house and in mine. Of course, we have Chef Matt in the studio for Matt and Matt. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
What about you? What is something that maybe changed as you got married?
I think my wife and I grew up in very, very similar households.
Okay.
In the sense that I think the thing that both triggers us the most, both of us, is 쩝쩝거리는 거.
쩝쩝. I understand that. I understand.
Yeah.
근데 떡 먹을 때는 쩝쩝거리는 게 더 재밌잖아요.
So yeah, there are certain things where you kind of
Like
have to,
떡볶이.
and you kind of get away with it, right?
Yeah.
And you know, going back to like the idea of slurping noodles. 국수 같은 거는 you have to 소리 내야죠 because
Right.
it's too hot.
Yeah.
You're and I think the reason why you have to slurp and the reason why it's correct to slurp is because that's how noodles should be. They should be hot. They
Yes.
should burn your mouth if you don't eat them quickly enough. And if they're not, it means that the noodles are not hot enough.
Okay, I like it. For us, I think for my husband, he doesn't like it. He will literally get very angry if I eat before him or without him.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah,
That's a
I
big
didn't
one.
know. I didn't like, to me, it's not a big deal if he eats first. I mean, not as in like, you know, he ate at 3 p.m. and I'm going to eat at 4, but we're at the table together.
Right.
And or I start eating before him. That kind of is his pet peeve. But that's something that we have to learn about each other.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, it's not something that that is like my own pet peeve, but I know that that's a dynamic that a lot of families have.
Yes.
And if you grow up with it, 그렇게 올바른 그라고 생각하는 거죠. And there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
But it's important to him,
Yeah.
which is why, you know, it's great that you're respecting that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really sweet because he'll wait for me. He'll wait for me, like if I'm in the shower and be like, oh no, eat breakfast first. He'll wait until I get to the table, which I think it's nice. I think because dining is such a communal thing.
Sure.
It's such a fun experience to do with other people.
Yeah.
So
There is a weird one that that has strangely kind of been big in my life. The idea, 뭐 한국이랑 뭐 일본에서 젓가락으로 먹잖아요. So you really only eat with one hand.
right.
What do you do with your other hand? 왼손으로 어디다가?
It depends on my mood. If I'm comfortable, I have it on the table, my elbow on the table. If I'm not, then I just have my hand on my lap.
You have your hand on your lap, which is the way you're supposed to do. 우리나라 군대에서, that's like one of the first things that he teach you. You put your hat on your knee and you put your hand on your on your leg. And if your hand is not on your leg, you know, they'll tell you, you know, put your hand down. But it's the
군대에서
opposite
배워.
in Japan, or at least my high school girlfriend's mother. She would always scold me for having my hand on my lap because to her it made it seem like I was trying to run away from the table. So for her, she thought like it was very big for her to have your left hand on the table because it's like a physical
안정.
sign that you're like engaged and that you're present.
See.
I don't know if this is a like overall cultural thing or if it's
Right.
just a her thing.
Which kind of makes sense that you would learn it in the military as well. I don't know. Is it like just in case you need to run? Always have your hand on your...
It's just that everything needs to be standardized.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you got a hand, what's everyone going to do with it? On the lap. Oh,
Just
okay.
put it on the
yeah,
lap, yeah.
That you know, everyone's going to do it.
Yeah.
It's just about standardization.
All right. Well, I mean, there is a reason for that. Then I guess there's a reason for that. All right, let's get to our next question. Still talking about table manners and etiquette. 다음 question은 뭘까요?
So, politeness can happen even before you arrive.
맞아요.
Let me ask you this. Are you generally on time or late?
당신은 약속 시간에 딱 맞춰서 가는 편인가요? 아니면 늦는 편이신가요?
I think that says it
sigh.
all.
It's such a terrible habit. But I think it's because I just want to look nice. And I'm always constantly wondering what I should wear. And then I become late, which is terrible. Such a terrible habit. But sometimes I get there early, which
Sure.
I'm very proud of at times. And I love being there early because you get to scout out the menu.
Right,
and
right.
Scout out the mall and any place that you end up meeting, it's just nice to head early.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a house party, then I'll come late.
You have to come late. It's rude to arrive early.
Yes, 맞아요. 그런 집들이 같은 거는
맞아요.
늦게 가는 거예요.
I'm generally very big on arriving places on time, except now that I work as a freelancer and my hours are very odd. I am just like late all the time to things
Yes.
just because I can't help it.
Yeah.
And luckily, because it's work, most people are understanding, but I feel terrible.
Yeah,
anytime I'm late.
it's
'Cause,
terrible.
Oftentimes too, when I'm late, I'm an hour late.
Yeah.
It's not 10 minutes late. It's not 15. It's a full hour
anxiety-inducing.
late.
Oh my gosh. Well, in any case, let us know, especially when eating. That could be a huge thing because you're making people hungrier and hangrier. 그렇지 않겠어요? All right. So arriving late, as you said, when it comes to house parties, it's appropriate. 그거는 집들이 같은 경우에는 늦어야 된다는
맞아요.
그런 마음도 있긴 있지만.
And if you're going to be there on time, send them a text. Hey, I arrived. Or should
it
I come
okay?
in?
Yeah.
Should I come in? Or like,
Do I need to grab something?
yeah. Can I grab you something? Like, do you need
Yes.
ice?
Yes. Ice is always-
ice or snacks.
Yeah. So universally, 대체적으로 뭐 어느 약속이든 5에서 10분 일찍 가는 게 예의라고 생각할 수 있잖아요. Yeah. But sometimes I would say arriving 5 to 10 minutes later or 15 to 20 minutes later is also appropriate as well.
And there are certain cultures that either believe this or have a reputation for being a little bit late. There's this idea of Parisian time. And there's the stereotype, quote unquote, in France, it's not rude to be late. And this again is one of those things that's kind of like twisted and exoticized. I feel like this is a stereotype that's perpetuated by the Brits a lot because
Okay.
the British and French are always kind of sniping at each other
Yeah.
for the things that they do. The Brits, famously orderly, they are proud of their culture of queuing up, of lining up in orderly. And in France, in general, just like everywhere else, it's more polite to be on time rather than late, especially when you're talking about like a business or a professional context. It's more like this. It's ruder to expect someone to arrive on the dot, especially if it's like a situation where it's a friend meeting another friend.
Okay.
Because things happen, and so to kind of like yell at somebody or yell at your friend, like if they're a few minutes late, it's seen as 너무 오바.
Okay.
It's like realistically speaking, again, we're about stereotypes broadly speaking. That's kind of what the Parisian time thing more means.
Okay, which I kind of understand because, getting angry at somebody for being late, obviously, it's there's a reason behind it, and there's validity behind it as well. But then also, it's kind of like, well, I don't know, is it that big of a everybody's late.
Everybody's
one
late
time.
sometime.
Yeah.
There's always traffic. There's always
Right.
a subway malfunction. There's always something.
Yeah.
And so another country that kind of has a reputation for its people being late. I checked out one Italian YouTuber.
Oh.
They went onto the street and they were asking other Italians, why does our country have a stereotype for being late? Most people they interviewed agreed with the stereotype, saying, yeah, in general, we're a country of people who are late. And the late people, they were pretty honest, like, yeah, I'm a late person.
No shame.
And when asked, some were saying, oh, it's part of the culture, or, that, we live in a more relaxed environment. Some people say, "Oh, it's all about living in the moment," and
You
not
never
worrying.
know what's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
exactly. And if I'm late, that means we can stay together longer. They get very
Okay.
romantic. But there are also other people who say that it's rude and that it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
And so again, every culture is made up of individual human beings.
Sure.
And one thing that I thought was interesting, though, is that the people that they interviewed, the ones who said that they arrive early, they said that they arrive early to be able to complain about the people who are late.
This is true. It's a personality thing. It's like there's some psychological thing in there. Like
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a particular person that if we say like 10 o'clock, that person will come at 9:55 and stare you down if
Yeah.
you come at 10:01 a.m. My goodness. But as you said, there's just two different types of people around the world. There's people who come on time and people who will I don't know, just won't even text you before, even being late.
Yeah, the craziest ones are like who arrive. I think anything over 15 minutes, I think, is pretty shima, especially if they don't have a good reason for it.
Yeah. Well, in any case, are you generally on time or late? 여러분의 약속 시간에 딱 맞춰서 가는 편이신가요? 아니면 조금 늦는 편이신가요? And I also want to know, what is 늦어 for you? And what is on time? Like, if I get there at 10:05, I'm on time.
Yep.
10:10, I'm a little late.
Round it to the nearest quarter.
Yeah. Okay. 10:15, that's you're stretching it. And then 10:20, boy, you are late. Well, in any case, let us know. In the meantime, here's New Jeans with ETA. What's your ETA? Estimated time of arrival. New Jeans. Great song. But don't ask me. I don't like feeling pressure also.
Yeah, what's your ETA is a very passive-aggressive thing to text.
It is.
Like, unless if like you're like really need to coordinate something.
Right.
Yeah, if you're hosting an event together with someone else, sure.
I need to know.
But or if like you need to like make a movie, like schedule time. But if you're just hanging out, it's like, and it's not even like, oh, what's your ETA? It's just ETA ?
Yeah, no. Also, if it comes with like an explanation, like I want to go to the bathroom, I just want to be here when you come, then it's like okay. But it's just as you said. Very passive aggressive.
우리나라는, what do you think? In Korea, generally most people tend to be on time.
I think
say.
so, yeah. I think they're...
잘 지키는 나라인 것 같아요.
I don't know if it's because it's the 빨리빨리 culture, but also like the subway system, everything is like tak, which is great. I can't imagine if public transportation was late or not on time, unreliable. That would be terrible for everybody. I think the economy would kind of slow down. Public transportation.
Have you seen the TV series? It's a new one, Moving.
No, I heard of it though.
Yeah. So it's not a famous scene, but there is one scene where the kids are running to school and the main characters are late, and the teacher shuts the gate on them.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically he's doing a countdown, waiting for everyone to get through, and anyone's late got the gate shut down on lockdown on them, and they had to do like bathroom duty or like cleanup duty after school.
Yes.
And like my wife was saying that's my school. My teacher did that, and so I think the idea of like 지각 is I think not taken more seriously, but I think the school system and because. In the U.S., kids don't clean the schools, and so the punishment in the U.S. is detention,
right?
Which I think is a
after.
very ineffective punishment.
Sit down and don't do anything else.
Yeah, you can't even do your homework. It feels like a very useless, kind of impotent form of punishment.
It does.
But in Korea, you have to clean.
Right.
You have to clean the bathrooms or whatnot, and I think because of that sort of setup. It's the idea of being tardy, I think, has more defined consequences.
Right. Kind of more disciplined, I guess, in other countries. But I think when it comes to like assignments as well, not even just arriving somewhere, but there are certain professors, even in college, and this is where I kind of get like, okay, relax. Because if you turn an assignment, nowadays a lot of things are online. And so they'll have the submission time at, 11:59 p.m. And if it's past 12 a.m., then it's the next day. It's marked as late. And some teachers have grace, they have lenience, and they're like, oh, it's okay, But 12 a.m., and they'll be like, nope, minus 10 points.
See, like the thing is that I feel like that's a control issue.
It is
because the idea is like, oh, we're preparing you for the real world.
In
what real world
Yes.
are you getting penalized for being 2 minutes late?
Yes, I don't understand that, and I just feel like that isn't something that you really want to like institute to people in general. Because if you're not able to accept people's words or their attendance or anything past a minute late, then
right. Unless if you're training to be like a NASA engineer,
right,
or an air traffic controller,
where every second counts, then otherwise, I mean, just accept my paper for what it is. Don't flunk me a whole grade.
Well, this segues well into our next topic about lateness,
Okay.
and I want to talk about this one. author who gave a TED Talk on this subject about being late.
좋아요.
And there's this, her name is Grace Pacey. She says that there are two types of people, timekeepers and time benders. Time benders are people who don't like routine and, and time seems to move differently for them. And it's easy for them to lose track of time.
Sure.
And, these are also people that, tend to be, good under a deadline. Because like they kind of like beat off things, but like when it comes down to it, they can get things on time.
Right.
And so this author claims that use that approach. If you are late all the time, imagine things being a deadline. Because what you're doing is when you're able to make certain things on time, but you can't make other things on time, what you're saying to the people that you can't make things on time for is that, oh, this is not a priority.
You're not important enough. Yeah. I guess that makes sense as well. I think that's the reason why people get hurt as well. If you're always late, then,
Right.
well, don't I matter? Is my time not important?
Right. So if you're out there and you're habitually late and something that you want to change, one way to look at it is to think about the fact that missing this deadline, being late to a certain thing, does have consequences to it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do feel like I am a time bender.
I know, I agree. I am a time bender as well. Like, I'm not generally late to things, but I am not good with other things.
Yeah, I agree.
I lose track of time very, very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that
I don't know if you would ever like be able to teach yourself. Can you discipline yourself on being a little more strict and scheduled and
some people believe that you can. A lot of a lot of it comes down to this idea of conscientiousness. It's just the idea of getting used to having it in the front of your mind.
okay.
And I think that like most of us functioning adults who have made it this far in life, without getting fired from every job that they've had or whatnot, have the capability to do it. It's just about making it a priority and just consistently reminding yourself. And to train yourself to, have it in the front of your head, on the tip of your tongue, I think is the first step.
Here's the fun thing. If I am busy, the busier I am, the more efficient I am in my work.
Yes. I think because when you're busy, you're forced to prioritize and to, make like a mental list of everything.
맞아요.
When you're not quite as busy, everything's just kind of floating out there.
Yes.
Oh, I'll do a little of this, I'll do a little of that.
Never get anything done. I have so much time in the world. I won't do anything. I won't even lift a finger. But as soon as I have 3 or 4 jobs to do that day, I'll get 7 done.
Exactly, because like you kind of straighten up and you're in work mode and it's time to get things done.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Hopefully, whether you have any plans for tonight's dinner or tomorrow or even the weekend ahead, hopefully you're able to keep the time, be a timekeeper, and also keep those manners on the dining table as well. Once again, 덕분에 너무 많은 것을 배웠고 너무 즐거운 시간을 보냈습니다. 매튜님, 감사합니다.
Thank you.
We'll have to see you again next week. We'll leave you guys with our last song of the evening. Here's IU. 금요일에 만나요. 내일 봬요.